What's up, guys? My name's Mike. This is All Things Fish, and as usual, thanks for tuning in. Kind of a little bit of a short notice stream, not quite a pop-up, but not something that was planned terribly far ahead of time, I guess, but that's okay. So we'll get started in a couple minutes here. Just a quick update on life, I guess. And so I've been pretty busy out of town, as most of you guys know, but in just a couple days here, I'll actually, hopefully, pending the weather and how things work out, I'll be heading home soon. So we do have a couple people that said they would like to join me tonight. So we have one and only Kelley Foreman. Good evening, Kelley. How are you?
Hello.
There you go. Getting better. How's your weekend going?
It was good. It was good. We did not do much.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Did some
Regular weekend.
Yeah, some crappy weather keep you guys inside, or you just enjoy a down weekend for a change?
It finally rained today. We have not had rain in like a month. So
That's
no,
crazy.
it rained all day today. So and yesterday was 90 degrees.
So you had a little bit of a heat wave kind of for this time of year. It's not usually quite that warm.
It's 15 degrees above normal. It has been.
Wow.
So yeah, the heat has broken though. So
awesome.
It's good. Yeah, we didn't do much this weekend because we're gonna go to the Clash soon. So we had to do home.
How exciting!
I know we're excited. Yeah, we're gonna drive because it's like 9 hours for us. So it's
okay.
Not
Awesome.
that much. So
I just found out today. So the 29th, I plan on making the drive over to Quad Cities for the swap meet then.
Nice.
I just found out that Whip doesn't live that far away. So
he does not. Well, I mean, how far are the Quad Cities from Chicago?
I don't know. It's only about an hour and a half from him, though. So
yeah, I was gonna say like an hour and a half.
So awesome. Looks like people are rolling in. Skippers is here. How you doing, Tom? Hope you're doing well. Coro, Richard over at Go with the Flow.
I'm probably like, I don't know. I'm probably like 4 hours from the Quad Cities.
That's less distance than I'll be driving. Just so you know.
But no, because we're going to the Clash the next weekend, and that's enough. Like I'm good for one fish event a year. That's it. Like
Zen Ginger's here. Eddie from Vibes. Night Owl. What's up, guys? Hope you're all doing well. Having a good weekend. And
Jake is really sad you won't be at the Clash, Sunny. He's
so lonely backstage.
Oh, so lonely.
How's it going, Stephen?
My owl pajama
Pretty
pants.
Good. Nighttime attire. Yeah.
They've got owls on them. They say, "I'm owl yours."
Well, that's punny.
I know. Jake bought me them.
Nice.
It's good taste in pants.
What have you been up to this weekend, Stephen? We were just kind of in small talk.
Not a whole lot. Well, I mean, mostly helping Jenna, and because it's almost Clash time. There's so much to do. It's just little things, arts and crafts shit, just all over the place. I'm thinking possibly tomorrow know what your plant, so I can just continue helping her.
That's cool.
Get it going.
We streamed twice last week.
Yeah, we did.
We're streaming right now. How much of us do people need?
I think they're gonna be good. It's enough.
Yeah, whatever. If it would make Jenna's life better,
yeah,
then I'm all for that. So
not that she would ever ask me to do so, because she's really bad about asking for help. But I can tell the stress is ramping up because we're a week and a half out from leaving.
Yeah, it's a lot. No Mike at the Clash. I mean, someday your work schedule sucks.
Yeah, it's been crazy. Good evening, Annette, by the way. Since you came in here, Poke Fun. Lori's here. All kinds of people. Barbara Jackson.
Lots of people. Lots of night owls. So
all types.
I am going to. I'm going to get a drink quick. I'll be back.
Awesome. Sounds good. So last night, Stephen hung out with us for a little bit in Vibes' stream, and it was just kind of a casual hangout kind of deal, not really anything super specific. And after 3 hours, the stream ended, and I think I finally went to bed after I was done chatting with everybody at about 5 o'clock this morning.
Oh gosh.
I think I tried to go to sleep, then I came back, and then I think maybe I dozed off before it ended. I don't remember.
Yeah.
At 5 a.m., I was asleep.
I was definitely asleep by 5, which has actually been unusual for me this week.
God, you don't sleep good. I was also asleep at 4.
I should have been asleep at 5. We're on the way the training program is set up here. So all my flights for my training stuff have been at night, so we don't take off until about 8 p.m. But the day before, we have basically a meeting, like a briefing at 8:30 a.m.
Oh God! So are you sleeping in the middle of the day, or?
You just kind of sleep when you can.
That's not very
micro naps.
Kind of what it comes down to, and then Eddie drags you into a late night stream, and next thing you know, you just don't sleep.
So Vibes was awake all the way until 5 a.m. backstage?
No. He was. It was his stream. He was not necessarily there.
Okay, because he was falling asleep like before y'all ended. I was just curious. Like, does he just get like a new vigor backstage after the stream?
Right.
Second wind.
Fall asleep on your own stream.
Yeah. So I think
the stream just keeps going. I mean, it never stops.
I mean, if no one actually has the power to end the stream, then it does just keep going.
I mean, can't YouTube streams only be 12 hours? Isn't that the?
I think a few people have tested that theory, but I know Curtis was barely hanging on. It was probably like 1 a.m. or so.
Egg watches, I think, that have been pretty long. Like 12 hours.
There is some 12-hour rule.
Vibes.
I specifically warned him because I was just hanging out in the chat because it was him and Curtis and Branton. They were just hanging out on the stream, and they kept trying to talk me into coming up on the stream. Like, you guys don't want it. You guys, it's not going to lead to good things. And next thing you know, we're up until 5 in the morning. So
we are not staying up till 5 in the morning. That's
you got me for like an hour or so, but I got things.
Awesome.
I have to go to bed. I mean,
yeah.
By things, I mean I have to be asleep. So
awesome. Vibes99 super chat. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. A few more people rolled in. Barbara Jackson. Hello, Green Thumb. Cat House is here. June's in the house. Always a pleasure. Yeah, a decent little crowd here tonight.
Quite a party.
So,
That's right.
I am curious though, Kelley. But before we roll into halfway serious nerdy stuff, why do you have a CO2 cylinder right in front of a door?
It's just 2.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just keep them over here. It's not like right in front of the door. It's like next to the door. Those are my extras. I don't really have a good place for them. I guess I could put them like in a closet or something, but I don't. So.
Does that door open inward? So like if someone, an intruder were to come in, it would just knock over CO2?
It opens.
A good alarm system.
It doesn't hit it opens into my office, which is actually very convenient.
I was in the whole home intruder system line of thought. We're like, oh, if they knock over the CO2 cylinder, then I'm surely going to notice that somebody's trying to come into the house that shouldn't.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
emotional support.
There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things they can emotional support. It's true. I need backups. No, I have backups because my CO2 place is not open on the weekends, and so I can't change the cylinder myself because I can never get the bolt. I'm not strong enough. So
That fire extinguisher place we go to, it's open at like 8 o'clock in the morning, closes at 4:30, closes early on Fridays. Sometimes decides they're not going to open, or like they're not going to come back from lunch. So
that's not convenient.
no.
Yeah, I go to a welding supply shop. It's TJ Nowak Welding Supply. It's open 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. And it is 2 blocks from my house. So
that makes it
is
easy.
pretty
Good.
convenient. I just, so I go and get it myself, and then I have it for Jake to change it. So,
yeah. So I also use a fire extinguisher shop, and it must be something about fire extinguisher shops because they're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, maybe, unless they take a lunch or a service call or.
yeah.
So it's just kind of whatever. Either they
Yeah.
make so much money that they don't really have to have like the open hours, or they just are on their way out at their closing.
I go to a welding supply shop, and it's funny because like they write me up this big, huge invoice every time I get it, because like most people who go to the welding shop are like contractors who get thousands of dollars worth of stuff, and I just get one little cylinder. But they always love seeing me because they think it's, you know, kind of fun.
It's the gas girl, yay!
I know. They're like, oh, it's the fish girl, and they're like, are they saltwater fish? I'm like, no.
It was funny when I first started going to, obviously I live in a fairly smaller town. When I first started going to the fire extinguisher shop, like, oh, like, are you using it for a keg or something? I was like, no. They're like, well, what do you need 10 pounds of CO2 for? I was like, oh, it's for a fish tank. And their minds were just like.
They did ask me at first, because a lot of people go to get CO2 for their kegerators, and then they will get beverage grade, and they have to send those off to have them filled. And so they swap those. But mine, they just fill on site because it's not beverage grade.
Regular old riffraff CO2 is just fine.
Yeah, which honestly, it's probably the same stuff. It's just one is approved by the FDA for, you know, food consumption.
But yeah, they print me a full 8.5 by 11 sheet invoice.
Yeah, me too.
For $5 CO2. It's $1 a pound.
Wow. Yeah, mine is like $2 a pound. So
I usually use the fire extinguisher shop, and that's anywhere from, it depends on the day, $25, $30 for a 10-pound fill. There's a gas supply, like Linweld or something, and they want like $50 or $60 to fill 10 pounds.
Like, it does fluctuate a little bit in price. Like, it must be based on commodities.
Yeah, I called
charge. So, but it's always about that much.
I called 3 shops in the same day. One shop said 30, one said 40, and one said like 55.
Yeah, it really varies a lot. I mean, for me though, it's kind of hard to beat the convenience of 2 blocks away.
I think Brookley tried a pawn shop that does CO2, and I think they were kind of in that ballpark of like, here's this $30-$40 to fill up a 5 or 10 pound
pawn shop. That's weird. I mean, I know that like paintball places, like like sporting goods stores, you can get them done sometimes for paintball.
Yeah.
But I usually tell people to try welding supply first, because there's lots of welding supply shops always.
Yeah. So. Just don't let them swap out your shiny new canister with one of their old nasty looking canisters.
I've never had a place that swaps, so
I only tried this one place, and I was fine with that.
Yeah.
I was talking to the last place that I got a fill at. I'm like, well, if you want, I think I ended up getting my 20 swapped instead of my 10 filled because they couldn't fill that day for whatever reason. Their pump was broken or something. So I had an old steel 20, and I was like, do you guys, like, when you guys do swaps, do you guys do, like, your guys' tanks are probably all steel? And they're like, we've actually, like, most of our stuff is aluminum now. So
yeah. I mean, well, a couple of 2 of these cylinders, I bought them there because why not? They were new cylinders. They're fine.
Yeah.
They're a good price. I've only bought one cylinder online. I think all the others I bought there because their prices. I mean, it's nice to support a local business. So when you can, and the price is fine. So
definitely. So we're going to get into the subject of the stream here in a minute, since we talked about lunch and food and stuff. But real quick, Vibes asked where we get sponge media for DIY filters. And Kelley doesn't DIY, so that's
I don't
probably
DIY, and I don't sponge filter. I have intake sponges, which I got from the co-op. No big deal there. They're just regular intake sponges. I don't think there's anything magical to them. They're just sponge. So, yeah, I don't do air filters. That's what I was going to suggest was tropicals.
Yeah.
A lot of people buy from them. So,
yeah, I don't know what the difference in sponge would be for DIY filters, but I get those big sheets of sponge. I got some from in the pre-filters I got from Co-op and from Amazon as well. I've replaced most of my media with some kind of sponge, like filter floss mostly is just like fine pore sponge, and pretty much no more ceramic media for me, except for a couple of places where it's still there.
I only have canisters, and they are already filled with sponge and like a little bit of media, not much, just a little bit of media. And I don't think it matters what media you buy. I don't think it matters at all. I mean, you could buy fancy like C-chem media. It doesn't matter. You could use. I think I just use the rings because the rings are cheap.
Yeah, stuff holds bacteria. It's fine. If you're like having to optimize your surface area by every like micrometer or whatever it is, then
maybe you should get your medications adjusted because you have OCD. You know.
I would say that a canister filter, probably Kelley's FX6, makes plenty of gravy, like gravy from concentrate.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, it's the pre-filter sponge. The pre-filter sponge really helps keep it clean because I clean that every week. So
yeah, so I'm, like my canisters and even like the HOBs I use, it's either some sort of foam or sponge that I just happen to have laying around. Like if I had some media from like I picked up a used tank, I throw it in there. Otherwise, gravel.
Yeah.
Or the like plastic pot scrubbies are popular.
Yeah, I would be a little careful with kitchen sponges because sometimes the packaged kitchen sponges are like soaked in a liquid.
Yeah, like they're pre-moistened, and whatever that's in there is kind of foamy, and I'm not sure what it is.
I wouldn't trust that. But like the scrubbies, the pot scrubbies, those are good, and those are cheap.
But yeah, for like foam stuff, I use Swiss Tropicals offers all kinds of different. Like they'll cut it to fit whatever you need. They'll actually. So this is all like I guess that's their jet lifter stuff, like mat and filter kits.
I do love that German breeding ring for sure.
Have you ever used a mat and filter?
Not me.
I have mat and filter set up in some of my tanks.
Do you like them?
They're super easy, and I just don't clean them because they're so big that.
Yeah.
And I do water changes all the time anyway.
Are they big like Big Kitty is big?
They're pretty big. Maybe not Big Kitty, but they're pretty big.
All that fur would make quite a water polisher.
That's true. He has plenty of fur to share.
Yeah. Swiss Tropical says like they've got all kinds of different types of foams, like this kind of like wavy looking one, different porosities, and then you can just get it in great big sheets. Like they go all the way up to like 4-inch, 5-inch thick, and they'll actually.
I've never had red foam before.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is.
How pretty! Oh, I could get seafoam green foam. Wow, how fancy!
But they'll actually, so they sell it in these towers or whatever, like this 5-inch cube deal. So you pick the porosity, and then they'll actually drill it for you. Like they'll cut the middle out of it for the right size to put on a sponge filter. So
that's nice. And it's finer than the co-op sponge filters because they're really coarse, which like I think a little bit finer is better. Unless you're the sort of person who's only going to clean your sponge filter like once every 5 years, you might as well get a finer one.
Me. Yeah.
I don't use sponge filters, so I think they're gross. You know, they just take a lot of room. They get gross. I don't know.
I mean, for the pre-filters, I like the coarseness because I get annoyed when it clogs like after a few days.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I clean them every week though, so I don't have any plecos either. If you have plecos, things get gross fast.
Yeah.
So.
Like, one of my concerns with like super coarse foam for sponge filters is that it's not like collecting any like actual debris. Like you're getting the biological filtration, but you're not really getting much mechanical. So when you go to clean it, like nothing's stuck inside it, so you're not taking any of that stuff out of the water. Yeah, it's like
you ever just try to take something out of a hang on the back filter while it's running?
Yes,
I do that all the time in the mosh pit. I don't care. Like that tank is pretty bulletproof.
It will be fine.
And the guppies are like, "Ooh, you just released a whole bunch of food," because guppies are gross.
Anyway, let's talk about fish food, right?
Let's go shopping for you. We're gonna
we're
shop.
gonna
Where are we gonna shop?
So we're gonna look at a few different things, and then we'll get to where I buy most of my stuff. But what are some of like the popular, like big name fish foods that you hear people out there using?
I mean,
New Life
like
Spectrum.
New Life Spectrum. I don't know.
Xtreme.
Dr. Basilier's Xtreme. Oh,
Hikari.
Yeah. Tetra.
Like Northfin.
Northfin.
So
yeah.
and we'll take a look at some of those.
Fluval. The Fluval bug bites. I use those sometimes.
It's like a big one that kind of popped up in the last year. Like everybody's like, "Oh, like Xtreme. And like it's so awesome."
Oh, then the Repashy, which I will never use. That's gross.
Xtreme popped up in the last like 3 or 4 years. I feel like because I did as a beginner. I started off using that.
I like Xtreme. I use it.
It's just
I don't use
expensive
that much.
for what you get, and then when you have 20
that.
tanks and you're feeding Flake in 20 tanks.
Yeah, see, I only have 3 tanks, so it's not that big of a deal. If I had 20 tanks, I would be a bulk shopper.
Right. It's like if
Ken's Fish is where I get my food.
Ken's Fish. That's where. Yeah, that's a good place to buy.
So obviously, like Ken's has their own line, but then they offer like pretty much all the other big names out there. So looking at Xtreme, it's like Community Crave's a popular one. I do like they have a 0.5 millimeter pellet because most of my fish are smaller.
I don't need any pellets because rainbows, like, they'll just choke on them.
I mean, even a smaller pellet, they're good with it.
Vacuum them up. So I only feed Flake. So Jeff gets his food.
But looking at...
Yeah, they're a good source. Yeah. And I've used food from Ken's before. Like, I've got food from there. They're good.
$55. How much is 1 pound? Okay.
That's 1 pound for $55. You're like, all right, well, I mean, what makes it so good? You're like, well, the ingredients, obviously, like any ingredient list, it's in order of quantity, right?
List on them? Sure.
So mostly spirulina, some krill meal, fish meal, which if anybody doesn't know, fish meal just means that they took some fish, put them in a blender, and then probably dehydrated it before they mixed it into the formula.
No, I've got the ingredients right here. The number 1 ingredient is krill meal. Second ingredient, fish meal.
You've got krill flake. He's looking at Community Crave, so there's some spirulina.
Yeah, I like the krill flakes, the spirulina flakes. I like to mix those. So.
And it's got some...
I've done other things too. I like Fluval bug bites. Those are good.
It's like some shrimp meal, wheat germ meal, which they just take the wheat germ and grind it up, I guess.
That's binder.
Soy protein, and then a whole bunch of other additives like vitamins and minerals and stuff. And people get like wound up around like the fat and protein percentage. I don't know. It's like minimum 42% protein. Well, I don't think your fish give a crap if it's 40% or 42% because I found most of them fall in like the 40 to 45% range.
I could put dryer lint in my tanks and the rainbows would eat it. They're not that smart.
They'd at least try it, and then they would fight over it. They'd spit it out, and then
this is food, but we'll eat it. Yeah, they're not that smart. I mean, I know some people have picky fish that They have trouble getting them to take to a food. This is not the life of a rainbow keeper. They'll eat anything.
Right.
So
my pickiest fish by far are the puffers.
oh yeah. Do they eat any prepared foods?
They do. So I got the Hikari krill, the freeze-dried krill. They eat that.
Oh, yeah.
But then I was like, this doesn't give you very much krill. They eat a lot. And so I got a bigger bulk thing of krill from some other brand, and they're not as big of a fan of that. So I don't know why. I have to look into that, if it's a different type of krill or what. But they'll eat freeze-dried krill. Of course, they eat snails. They'll eat Repashy, which I need to make some more grub pie. Repashy is just so vile. And they eat fiber bites. That's like my easy, lazy go-to thing that I sling into the tank.
That's good. I bought some freeze-dried, I think, krill, because I thought I'd give it to the rainbows, and they choke on it. It's too big.
Yeah, I can see that.
Oh yeah, it is really big.
Yeah, it's too big. It's kind of old, or I would give it to you.
I just gotta order some more.
It's kind of old. It's a couple years old now, so.
It's like obviously, like, so I have a bunch of tanks. So a pound is $55. That's a little pricey. We're just
How
gonna,
much is the krill flakes from there for a pound?
I would guess probably close to the same. Looks like they don't even offer it in a pound. They just have 3.5 ounces. So
yeah.
Like you're saying, like krill meal, fish meal, shrimp meal. So fairly similar, just kind of like the first couple of ingredients are in a different order. So, and that one's, the krill meal suggests less protein, like 38% instead of 42. I don't know. But that's a little expensive for my taste because I got a lot of fish to feed. So
yeah.
I'm not saying it's a bad food. I'm just,
then you'd have more money for fish food,
right? So I mean, it's
Zen
probably
was asking me if the puffers have been the most challenging to feed, or a certain species of Corydora dene fry. Yeah, I mean, anytime you hatch fry and they won't just eat powdered flake or something, and you got to figure out what they will eat, and then also produce it in the right amount of numbers.
Yeah, and rainbow fry are really hard.
Yeah, I haven't had to do that yet.
Really easy, but for rainbows, you have to feed. You start them on like golden pearls or infusoria for a couple weeks, and then it's one whole year of baby brine. One whole year, because they grow so slow. So yeah.
So Xtreme might be a good food. I don't know. Like I said, a lot of people are promoting it for various reasons. I'm not saying it's bad food, but for me, it's a little bit expensive. So let's see what else we can find.
Yeah.
I think Fluval bug bites are expensive.
Oh yeah.
But I do buy those to kind of mix in. Like I'll buy those when I go to the reef in Indianapolis. Because I like to buy something when I go there.
Yeah.
Support that store.
So Northfin's really good food, but again, we're gonna run into the same problem. We'll look at this community after.
Does it even have bulk?
I've never tried Northfin foods, but like if I had a sample of it, I would feed it because whatever. Rainbows eat anything.
It's like the big thing I've heard about Northfin is that they use this Antarctic krill, which is in the ingredients here. Like it's a primary ingredient. It doesn't say like how much of each ingredient is in there. It just says there's more of this than other ingredients, like pound for pound, right?
Well, that's true with extreme krill flakes too.
Yeah. So we're seeing some krill meal, herring meal, sardine meal, some wheat flour, and then kind of the same stuff, a little bit of spirulina, some garlic, which I know there's like anecdotal stuff about garlic being better for your fish's immune system. I think it's more of just like an appetite.
I have tried garlic foods before, and I cannot stand the way they make the tank smell.
Like, so that's the thing. Like I look at these ingredients, and I cannot say whether any of them are good or bad. Like people say it's got binders. It's like, well, I feel like anything that's dried and it's going to have binders in it. It doesn't matter what kind or how much. I don't know. I really don't know.
I mean, people fuss way more about their fish's diets than their own diets. I mean, you look at the crap you put in your own mouth. You know,
it's crazy.
I don't want to
we eat
look at that.
McDonald's too. Flake food is not that bad.
So like the Northfin, this is the community, like a very small pellet, but a kilo, we're looking at almost $50 for a kilo. So that's twice as much as the Xtreme community flake that we looked at.
For less, yeah.
So
a kilogram is 2.2 pounds.
Roughly, yeah. So pretty
That's
expensive.
a pretty good price compared to the Xtreme.
So
a
if I wanted,
kilogram is, I mean, because I can't go through a kilogram of fish food in any reasonable amount of time. And I don't have much freezer space.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for somebody like Steven or myself or somebody running a big fish room, unless you have a bigger budget than I do, Northfin's a little bit expensive, and we saw fairly similar ingredients. What's another one? So what's Lucas's favorite food?
Oh,
always,
the
like, he feeds,
rainbow
like,
or
one
the
specific
Tetra
food.
tropical granules.
Tetra?
Aren't they
so let's look
Tetra
at those
tropical
quick.
granules? They're like the cheapest food money can buy.
Okay.
Short of like
TetraColor granules.
Tetra, the color granules.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a 10.5 ounce jar, and you can get it for $4.74. So pretty cheap.
They make bigger jars of that though, because I've seen him use.
Surely he'd have to have a bigger jar, yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
And that's all he feeds. But he never changes his water, so I'm sure there's lots of crap growing in his tanks. I mean,
so the color granules, obviously, we're looking at something that's a lot cheaper than like the Northfin or the Xtreme, and I'm selectively cheap. Looking at some of this, like 47% crude proteins, a little bit higher protein, a little bit lower fat content, and then in the ingredients, fish meal, wheat germ meal, wheat flour. So pretty much like largely kind of the same stuff.
So what makes your fish more colorful? Does it have extra iron to make your fish red?
It has more granules.
It might.
More granules. The granules. That's the.
So we had a few people in the chat talking about the Ken's food. So let's take
frozen Ken's. And frozen food too, just from other brands.
Nancy says her darters will only eat frozen food. That's interesting.
Really?
They are the coolest fish.
Are they? I'd be curious. Are they wild caught darters?
They are. Nancy caught them. She collected them herself
with her bare hands.
A lot of the times, I know people that bring in like wild caught fish, like they've obviously never seen a flake or a pellet before, so it takes a lot to adapt them over.
So Nancy, have you tried to get them? I'm sure you've tried to get them to eat prepared food. Oh, hi, tiny kitty. Oh, meow.
Tiny kitty.
It's tiny kitty. There's big kitty, tiny kitty, and fat kitty. And
so we're talking about
part-time
frozen food. So Ken's, oops, I don't think I'm sharing this.
Yeah,
Ken's
I mean the shipping.
Too.
Obviously, when you have to have something frozen shipped, the shipping is pretty high. But if you've got freezer space, you can get a pretty good deal.
I don't have freezer space. That's the thing. My freezer is so full because like I make my own chicken stock and I make soups and freeze them and sauces, and my freezer's small to begin with. I have a lot of nuts in the freezer. Like I need my freezer for my food. So I can keep some frozen food, but like I can't keep a bulk order of frozen food.
Yeah, and it would take you a lot longer to go through it.
Yeah, that's the other thing. So like when I go buy cat food, I'll pick up a block or two of frozen bloodworms to feed as supplement. If they have frozen daphnia, I'll feed that too because that's really small.
So like bloodworms or daphnia are kind of your go-to then?
Yeah, because they're small and they don't choke on them. The brine, it's kind of big, so I worry about it. They love bloodworms. All fish love bloodworms. I mean,
right? It's just It's weird what happens when you put a natural food source in front of something that naturally
Yeah.
eats it.
I mean, but for rainbows, like, no, they'll eat anything. Like they like it all. They're fine with it.
And
So.
personally, I prefer the mini bloodworms over the regular ones, just because I can drop them in a community tank and everybody can eat it.
I've never seen those,
They
but
have
I
them on the
also
site.
I only buy them in the little blocks. I don't buy the big ones because I don't want to deal with breaking up a big.
I think Omega or San Francisco does the mini bloodworms.
Oh, the mini, yeah. I always get the Hikari ones, Hikari bloodworms, because that's what they sell at the pet store that I go to for.
Or maybe we missed it. I don't know. Oh, there it is. The mini bloodworms.
These guys.
Yep.
I've never tried the mini ones, but that makes sense. You could get like obviously like with rainbows or like breeding any fish, like the goal is to get them on baby brine shrimp as fast as you can. So
yeah,
if you had they only sell these in the small 3.5 ounce flats.
I mean, maybe that would be a nice thing to feed, like if you just you just couldn't deal with hatching out baby brine for rainbows. Maybe they would like the mini. Maybe.
Well, they're not that small. Like baby brine is still very, very small. Yeah. It's just it's more like feeding bloodworms to a pygmy cory versus bloodworms to any other standard size cory.
So Skipper says he likes the mini ones for cories.
Yeah.
But sense. Matt suggests Casey's Pizza for food. I haven't had Casey's Pizza in forever. So for those of you in the chat who don't know, Casey's is an Iowa gas station chain, and their pizza is pretty famous. I haven't eaten
pretty
much.
Big deal.
Yeah, it's a pretty.
I've never heard of it. They must not be too famous.
They have a breakfast. Well, but because like you don't have Casey's, but they also have a breakfast pizza that is really popular.
Yeah. So Cat House said they buy the frozen slabs of bloodworms, which I do the same. Because I feed a lot of bloodworms.
There you go.
Good value. I'm also.
Just chisel
I'm
some
worried
off.
I'll become allergic to them, so I don't want to touch them much because I have a lot of allergies, and
I get itchy if I touch them.
Yeah, and you've got to be careful with that, Stephen, because allergies, like, they can go from like here to here with no warning, and if you're itchy, like you should wear gloves when you handle them because you have a shrimp allergy already, and yeah.
Normally, I just use tweezle twazzles. I only do I only bare hand them if I am lazy, and I guess I should like be less lazy.
You should be less lazy because you have a shrimp allergy.
Oh God! Don't rub your eyes with bloodworms, Jesus!
Oh God!
I haven't done that yet.
Oh God! Yeah, it's a really common allergy, and allergies. I mean, they can be mild, and then they can really ramp up. So I like the little individual ones. I can just pop them out. And I don't have that many fish, so
right.
It's
That's
not
like
that bad.
Like we were saying kind of at the beginning, like if you have a lot of tanks, I mean, it might make more sense to feed more expensive food, or maybe if you fed like only one, like if you only fed one food, if you're like Lucas, all I'm gonna feed is like a flake or a pellet. Personally, like I feed a wide variety of like flakes and pellets and frozen and live.
So you can always mix your own. If you have a ton of tanks, you should mix your flakes or your pellets.
Yep.
And then you can feed a variety.
That's exactly what I do when I buy flake from Ken's. Is I buy 3 or 4 different kinds.
Yeah, and then they get a variety. I see that.
So
Matt, you know the story, right? So Jake, this was before I met him. He was outside clearing brush at his farm, and he peed outside, and he got poison ivy, and it was a rough couple weeks. It was a rough couple weeks.
Jenna beat me to it, but I was going to say, same idea applies with crawfish boil.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah.
Sweet.
But you should wear gloves when you handle bloodworms, Stephen. That's what you should do.
So I feed a lot of frozen stuff. So usually about once a year from Ken's. Like if you look at the top here, frozen food's a 6-pound minimum. Because they ship it differently. They package it with dry ice and send it to you in a styro. So
it's like $40
so,
shipping or something like that.
Yeah. And I know that a lot of times clubs will do group buys for bloodworms. I mean, back when I was active in a club in Iowa, I used to do group buys of bloodworms, and I only had a couple little tanks, so they would all buy like 50 packs and I would get one.
Well, my local group is Brookley, so she and I have done group buys.
That works. That works.
That's what we usually do.
On shipping, you can save on shipping.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to order a bunch of frozen food today, so I need.
Your wife does not want to deal with feeding frozen food while you're gone. She deserves better.
Right.
She has to feed the other organisms too in the house.
So I feed a bunch of flake and I feed some pellets and wafers. So I'm gonna go look at some of the Ken's flake food. So
I love the name. Super intense.
They have this.
Yeah, if I had one complaint about Ken's flake food is that they have way, way too many varieties with just so much overlap.
Too hard to pick. Yeah.
Yeah, they've got a lot.
Just get a few and mix them.
Like they have this
just the same formula, but with like guppy instead of discus on it or something like that.
I just question how different they are. I mean,
well, let's look at them. So as far as price wise goes, we're looking at a pound. So a pound of the Xtreme flake was $50. A pound of their premium super tropical flake, which is just kind of their generic flake, is $12. So that's a lot more affordable. And looking at the ingredients, we see pretty much similar things.
Are all fish meals created equally, though?
Well, it's impossible to say.
I have no idea. Yeah.
So like,
I mean, I can say for me, like not all fish meals are created equal. I mean, there's the filet-o-fish, and then there's, the seared mahi-mahi.
Right.
There's a difference.
You put either of those in a blender, and it's hard pressed to really say which is which.
Right. I mean, looking at it, we're seeing a lot of the same thing, just slightly different order. The fish meal, some flour, whether it's wheat or soy, some shrimp meal. So, I mean, without knowing the exact formula, like how much of each thing they put in, I mean, how different is this from the food that we just looked at a minute ago that was 3-4 times the price?
I mean, they may even come from the same manufacturer. Who knows? I mean, I don't know.
It's like the top 10 ingredients are largely the same, a couple differences, but largely the same. And then this whole list of all the extra additives and supplements and stuff is probably identical, to be honest. So, but like you were saying, Ken's has a ton of different stuff, and one that I haven't tried yet. Said if you guys have been following me in the channel, you know that I feed a lot of Ken stuff. But this new one that they have, or I don't even know if it's new or if I just never saw it.
Well, that's interesting. So bugs. I mean, fish like to eat bugs.
I've ordered this one before, and yeah, the fish liked it equal to the other flake. I
mean,
wish you could send them a survey, but they just eat it.
The rainbows will be like 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. They don't care.
Yeah, as long as it's food. But a pound for this one is $25. So what are we getting different? That's $25. Ingredients:
catfish meal, specific.
Okay, so the bug meal is not even close to the top ingredient. But I guess maybe if you added up crickets, grasshoppers, and mealworms together, it would be the top ingredient. I don't know. But it's below cornstarch.
Yeah, we got gluten flour, soy flour, cornstarch.
So I wonder how much bug meal is in that. I don't know.
I don't know. Interesting though, but they have premium silkworm flake. It's and
that's a really good thing to have for food, because the silk industry, all those silkworms just die.
So this one specifically says salmon fish meal.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's
then-
high in omega-3 fatty acids. Salmon is good for people.
After the fillers is the silkworms.
So you get some silkworms, some plankton, some krill.
So I mean, I wonder how much like silkworm is in that.
And then it says some coloring. Like, what do you need to color it for? It's brown. What color did you put in there? I'm like, I don't know. But again, like the analysis, roughly 40 to 45% protein, 6 to 10% fat. So
yeah.
Does it
mean,
make a difference?
I don't know about all fish. I know rainbow fish need kind of like a balance of proteins and veggies and fats. Like they don't need like high protein or anything. So, but I don't know about all fish. I do know that plecos need wood. They need a very large block of wood in their tank.
They specifically eat the wood.
Pre-treated pine is their favorite.
Put a 2x4 in there.
Yeah.
You'll find in the morning that they'll have eaten half of it.
It's not fair. Rebecca's probably asleep.
Right? She can't defend herself.
And she's probably not going to catch the replay of this.
So then they have soldier fly larvae, which like
Fluval bug bites.
The bug bites are big on soldier fly larvae, right?
Nancy.
Ingredients: fish meal, some flour fillers, and then you get to black soldier fly larvae.
Yeah.
But there's
It
no
almost
way.
seems like every flake has the same basic structure, and then they just like throw something a little special into a few of them.
I do not see the ingredients on these bug bites. I thought that soldier fly larvae on bug bites though is the top ingredient. So, but bug bites are expensive. They are expensive.
High in multiple proteins to include whole salmon versus salmon meal, which if salmon meal is fish that's ground up and put together, is whole salmon. I don't know how you get.
Well, I think the meal is like the garbage parts of the salmon that
the heads.
Nobody, yeah.
But the thing is like the heads have a lot of nutrients in them. We just don't want to eat them.
So, but it does say for bug bites contains up to 40% black soldier fly larvae as the #1 ingredient.
Okay, so that's pretty good.
So that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it is a very expensive food. You can also get it in a flake, which I like. I mean, I don't know if Ken sells the flakes, but I buy it at the fish store. And it is kind of pricey, but it's really good.
So, I mean, a little bit better, maybe, because it has a little bit more.
What kind of vacation food is that? I've never seen that before.
I don't know. Let's look. Lasts up to 7 days. So
that's clash time.
Includes some soldier fly larvae in addition to a mix of healthy vitamins and minerals to ensure your fish are well fed while you're away.
Yeah, well, to ensure that it doesn't just all break apart into nastiness within an hour.
So
I guess.
So how long does a block feed for?
Up to 7 days. Because
7 days. Fish, I don't need to feed for 7 days.
Like, yeah, that's the thing. I don't feed whenever I go to the Clash and other conventions like that.
I mean, even if I go out of town for 10 days, those fish will be fine.
I'm concerned about the orange Venezuelan fry that I have.
Oh, if you have fry, that's different.
Yeah, I might release them in a little nano tank that just has like some microorganisms and crap and just see how they do.
For your little fry tanks, you should just take the whole tank over to Brookley's.
I don't want to put any more work on her. She's super busy
right now.
And like these orange Venezuelan fry, they are baby factories. So
I don't have fry to feed. So
we looked at
not true. I do have fry, and I don't feed them at all because they're in my pond.
They eat.
They eat what's in the pond. There's plenty in the pond. So.
And the chances are whatever they're eating in the pond is better than anything else that you're feeding out of a package.
Oh yeah, I mean they get all kinds of bugs.
He
Yeah,
said try a single dosing pump.
Oh yeah,
yeah, he did set that up, like
that's right.
fry food suspended in liquid, and
Very clever.
I wonder if I've got time to set that up. I guess if there's something on Amazon I can get
You know,
Prime.
I would be concerned that fry food suspended in liquid would spoil. I mean, if it's in water, like how is it? Unless it's refrigerated, it's going to spoil.
What if you
Yeah, I
just
don't know.
did a baby brine
Like-
shrimp hatchery that was plumbed to your auto doser to feed
I
live
guess
baby brine?
I do not have the brain capacity to get that figured out before October.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that. Well, Geek Boy says he's used it 4 or 5 times, so maybe there you go.
For a few days at most. Yeah, this will be
Yeah.
like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like 6 days ish.
I mean, it probably is pretty spoiled by the end of 4 or 5 days, but maybe the fish don't care.
It's a few days at most.
Maybe they like the things that are growing on it. I mean,
Yeah, they're not gonna. I know they're not gonna do well if they just remain in that German breeding ring while I'm gone. So I'm gonna have to release them into something that's been established for a little while that doesn't have any predators in it.
Tiny things to eat. Yeah.
We talked about flakes a little bit, and pretty much I think we figured out that 95% of the flake food is the same, unless you're willing to spend a lot of money to get a higher main ingredient. Pellets, let's look at some of the pellets, and like same with the flake. Ken's has 4,000 different pellets that you can click through.
I have the color enhancing pellets, but I made a mistake and I ordered the 1 millimeter, and I should have I ordered the 1.5 millimeter, and that one is not good for feeding much of anything except for Corys will munch on it. Too big for guppies.
Too big for rainbows.
Nah, the rainbows are fine with it. It's just not their favorite. It's like a really fast sinking food.
Yeah.
And so that's more for the Corys too.
I won't feed any pellets to rainbows because I have seen them eat, even the tiny ones, they'll try to eat a ton of them at once and choke on them. So I just don't feed. But other people say they like it, but I don't.
Yeah. So
Nancy,
are these
just a paramecium culture that slowly drips? Well, there you go.
That's what Mountaintop Puffer Keeper set up recently to get his Shout of Eye going.
Wow. Yeah, I mean that would work, and that wouldn't be that hard either. I mean, it wouldn't. I mean, I'm not going to do it, but it's pretty easy to culture paramecia, and you just drip the water in there. I mean, who knows how much you would get?
I mean, so I could, if I just took some water out of the pond.
Oh yeah, and put it on some hay. Put it on some hay or straw, and I mean, because that's how when I worked in labs, or when I taught labs, not worked in, we would culture infusoria for students to look at. We would take pond water and put it on straw and just let it marinate for a few days. And oh God, there'd be all kinds of stuff in there. All kinds of stuff.
So Steven, you said you used the color enhancing pellets. You say they're the floating ones, but I'd imagine it's probably a fairly similar formula.
I hate floating pellets. My fish are used to eating from the water column at this point. I'm paranoid about floating pellets, especially the way they market floating pellets for bettas, and bettas are always so prone to bloat. I always wonder, like, from the bettas going up and gulping air and pellets, is that contributing to it?
Could be. That would make sense. Which I've always wondered, like, because golden pearls are basically like just like puffed little fry food. So they have a little bit of air in them, so they stay suspended, so they stay in front of the fry. So I wonder if there's any like issue.
But even then, they're very slow sinking, and when I feed golden pearls to Corys, I have a little pinch and I suspend, like, put it underwater, and then kind of just kind of do that to let it sink to the bottom so the Corys can get it.
I mean, what I like about flake is it floats.
Yeah, or
longer.
stay suspended. Yeah, for
nicer for rainbows to eat. But rainbows, there is a myth, and I've even heard Gary Lang perpetuate this myth, so I don't get it at all, that rainbows will not eat off the bottom of the tank. And then, like, you can put a video up of your rainbows eating off the bottom of the tank, and he'll still deny it. I don't understand this.
like, do you see what's happening in this video, sir?
I'm like, these are not puppets. They are real fish.
AI.
It's like these pellets, the high intensity color enhancing pellets, are $8 a pound. So that was like pretty far.
I got a good bit of them. That is my I am super lazy, but I haven't fed in a couple of days. But I need to just kind of scatter some shit in the tank. That's what that's for.
That's my go-to too. So I just like grab it. I'm like, real quick, I've got 5 minutes to feed the fish before I go to work. Just grab a handful and just a little bit in every tank.
Just throw it in the air in your fish room. Some of it lands on the floor. Most of it gets in the tank.
So I usually keep them in. I usually keep the pellets in glass jars, which I don't do anymore because I dropped one on my floor.
Ooh.
I'm gonna be cleaning glass forever.
I don't. Yeah. Even if I have other foods, I put them back in these empty containers that the Xtreme Flakes come in because they're very handy.
Yes, they are. Perfect.
They're good size.
Fits my whole hand in there, unlike a lot of jars.
They fit on my shelves really well. And they don't break if some fucking cat knocks them over.
Yeah.
So look at these pellets, like the ingredients, and we see something a little bit different now. So we see marine animal protein instead of something like a fish meal.
I mean, that could also be a marine fish.
Hey, congrats! Kelley hit 2,000 subs today.
Yay!
Oh, that's awesome!
Congratulations, Jorge.
That is awesome.
By the way, Jorge, my rainbow fish fell through. He had ick in his tank in his fish room and decided to no longer sell fish. So I'm super bummed about that.
Sucks. You would think that ick is not like a huge deal. Like, let me clear that up in a week and then everything will be fine.
I mean, and the thing is I can ship fish here probably till Halloween about. I mean, it's been a really hot fall, so we'll see how it goes. But like, if he wanted to wait until 2 or 3 more weeks, like, I'd be fine. Maybe I'll hit him up again and see. But so Alishon has a question for you.
Yeah. Do you use fish from your fish stuff or food from your fish stuff? So let's take a look at it.
Fish from your food stuff.
Right. But these pellets, they said it's like marine animal protein, so some sort of meal.
Grown up penguins. Penguins.
And you get the standard list of all the vitamins and stuff they put in it. Crude protein 48, fat 10, so still like the 6 to 10 and 40 to 50 range. Let's look at your fish stuff because I've used this as well before.
I don't think I have.
Let's go over to their
I've
website.
never heard of them.
It could be ocean snow, marine snow, just like decay. Decayed matter.
Whatever they sweep off the bottom of the ocean.
Yep.
Just detritus.
So your fish stuff, we've been looking at tropical flakes pretty much, and we're comparing 1 pound. So 1 pound of roughly the equivalent to your fish stuff tropical flake works out to probably $16. So fairly
I can't read that.
Similar.
Is it 2 pounds?
That says 2 pounds for 32. So
okay.
But from a comparison point of view, so kind of in the middle, like a little bit more expensive than Ken's, unless you get into their expensive flake, and much cheaper than like Xtreme. But look at what we see in the ingredients: salmon fish meal, oat, wheat flours, gluten, the same exact stuff in almost the same exact order. So, and then like I said, a little bit of krill, a little bit of plankton, some kelp, some brine shrimp. It's pretty much all the same thing.
Some salmon
slightly different.
Yeah.
slightly different amounts. And so at what point?
Sounds like there is a basic way to make fish flake.
Yeah. So at what point in time do we get to the point where like, how can we say without doing like insane analysis that nobody's ever going to spend the time and money on that one food is, worth paying the money compared
I mean,
to another?
I think it would be really nice if like Aquarium Co-op, who has like a deal with Xtreme, would just do a video from Xtreme and they could talk about like, here's all the krill we're culturing and we use X amount of krill, X% of krill or something. I think that would be nice to know. Like, I think it would make good content.
It would make people's decisions have a little more, or like their decisions and opinions have a little more weight.
Yeah, it would be, very informative content.
But it would also be very pro Xtreme. So
well, but he sells it, so
yeah. Well, are you talking about having Xtreme do their own analysis and talk about what's in it, or?
I think the co-op should go and do a video there, and then they could ask them, hey, how much of this krill are you putting in there? And they could say, well, we put in 42% or whatever.
Yeah. So like, but that's, I mean, you get into like a weird fuzzy gray area where they don't want to tell you the secrets as to why their food's better than somebody else's, right?
Yeah. And even if they did have like a breakdown of everything, I still personally, I would still want to know why. I don't even understand why it needs that much of that and that much of that. And I don't know if anyone has the answer.
No, but it's something they could talk about in the video,
Right. Why do my fish need more krill? Like, what are they specifically getting from krill that's better than getting from plankton or
shrimp? It's very nutritious food. I mean, you can grow an entire whale on it. I mean, it has a lot of really high quality fats. Or what are they?
So maybe we need to talk to Scotty. He said he's had some people do talks on nutrition.
Well, if you make your way to the Clash, Rebecca's doing a talk on fish diets. I don't know if it's how broad she's going to go, or if it's going to be more loricarated.
It's going to be an hour and a half of telling us why plecos eat wood and wood only and nothing else.
I can't wait for this talk. I love plecos. But I mean, I know that a lot of people take krill oil as a supplement because it has a very good fat profile that is supposed to be like, cardio protective.
But is it better than cod liver oil or salmon oil?
It's supposed to be. Yeah, it's supposed to be really, really good.
So, but like
it has a really high percentage of those oils because like cold water fishes have to have a certain profile of fats with their saturation so they don't freeze to death. So it's like nature's antifreeze. That's why those fish are Arctic fish are so good for you. And krill are like really, really Arctic animals. So it is, yeah.
So if nothing else, you say like, if I'm looking for a higher quality food, then I probably want something with a lot of krill because we just said that krill is really good.
I mean, I don't know, maybe. But like, maybe I should be putting krill oil in my smoothie every morning. I don't know. Jake and I should talk about this. We could do a power shot of krill oil. I mean, he would do it.
Spirulina is supposed to be really good for you too.
Well, I mean, that's a bonus because those fish oil capsules,
blubber juice.
Yeah. I now am big into chia seeds. They're a plant source of those same omega-3 fatty acids, and they're not as gross as fish oil. So, but maybe I should be doing power shots of krill oil. I don't know.
Right. But like we talked about, so obviously like we said that like krill is super healthy, but nobody is going to take the time and like they may research krill as like, oh, this is good for humans, and because we have a market that we can sell it to, nobody's going to do the actual like studies and analysis on how a specific food affects your fish and what quantity they need it in, right?
You can grow a whole whale on it. I mean, there are whales that all they eat is krill. So
if they do a study on it, it's usually on farm raised food fish, like fish that we're going to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we looked at a few different foods, and we've kind of, I feel like we've, or at least I've kind of come to a conclusion. I'll get your guys' takes on it. I'd say like 90% of all the foods out there are 90% the same thing. So, I mean, we looked at all kinds of brands like Ken's House Food. We looked at Fluval, their bug bites, which are kind of an outlier because they're a very specific like niche food that you're going to pay appropriately for. We looked at like Tetra, but really there's fairly subtle differences in them, right?
Yeah.
So does it matter?
No fucking clue. I just.
Coral brings up a good point. If you feed salmon the flaxseed meal or flaxseed oil, which is like chia seeds, it has those good omega-3, 6, and 9 fatty acids that they get the same profile. So maybe I should be feeding my rainbows chia seeds. I buy them by the pound. I mean,
small enough, right?
Yeah, they have a lot of fiber in them. They have
Keep
a lot
them
of
regular.
fiber. Well, I mean, that's not a bad thing. I eat like 4 tablespoons of chia seeds a day. So
you just put them in your mouth.
No, I put them in my smoothie because I have a Vitamix blender. So I put them in my smoothie. Yeah. Then you can't really taste them. But they are good for you. So maybe rainbows, I can tell you for sure they would eat them.
Yeah.
Like they will eat everything.
I'd be curious to see, and maybe this would be like the only non-scientific way to like actually test it is to take you take a batch of 100 rainbow fish fry from the exact same spawn. You feed them both baby brine shrimp until they're off baby brine shrimp, and then you exclusively feed one fish the Ken's flake or whatever, and then you exclusively feed the other fish like the Xtreme flake. I mean, and then if you and then do basically like a blind test where you put the 2 groups of fish in front of somebody and be like, all right, which one of these groups look better? And then it's just going to be, well, I prefer that one, but somebody else might prefer that one.
Yeah. I will say this. I have friends who have taken rainbows from the same spawn, and some of them they have raised up in a tub outside, and some of them they have raised indoors on like baby brine, and like you conventionally would. There's no contest.
The outside fish win.
No contest. The outside fish will blow your mind.
And is it because of their diet or because of the sunlight or what? Or a combination of both?
Hard to say. Hard to say. It's probably
somebody needs to be doing these experiments.
Yeah.
You could, if you focus on like the diet, which obviously there's multiple other variables.
Hard to isolate those two things because the outdoor diet is varied and it's seasonal.
So do you think it's fair to make the assumption that feeding a large variety is better than feeding a single specific high-end like food?
Yeah. I mean, it's true for people too. So variety is good.
And I mean, most fish, they take what they can get, and what they can get is usually a variety. And I guess occasionally there'll be a booming of some kind of fauna that they'll gorge themselves on for a while and then go hungry for another month.
They eat a variety in the wild. I mean, unless there's an abundance of one food, so like bears, for instance, they go mono food on salmon during the salmon runs, or like when grubs hatch out in the mountains, they'll only eat certain grubs or certain berries during certain times. So.
And I imagine a lot of fish go omnivorous only in the growing season, like in the Amazon when fruits and crap start dropping into the water. Like they don't get that year round necessarily.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of vegetation that they might just nibble on here and there. I mean, it's not just fruits and stuff. It would be, they eat what the fish is, if they eat another organism, a bug, it's eaten maybe some plant or something, and they're eating what the bug eats, the contents of its stomach. So, fish eat whatever fits in their mouth.
Right.
For the most part.
Like you said, like the tub grown fish, like outdoors are always going to blow away any fish inside. You could be feeding if Northfin's the best out there and you're paying $55 a pound, you could feed Northfin, and it's not going to compare to just a a variety of different stuff to include like your live, or at least your frozen, to
Yeah.
kind of simulate the live,
I mean,
right?
if you live in Florida, you should just breed all of your fish outside. I mean, Stephen, you could breed fish outside for a very long season, not year round, but
Well,
for many,
if I can
many
figure
months.
out what is eating the fish that I keep putting out
Well,
there.
and that's the, yeah, I mean, because you birds of prey or
Mm-hmm.
raccoons, I mean, you know,
So like I
precarious.
I feed a variety, like I feed frozen bloodworms, baby brine shrimp, microworms, vinegar eels, whatever food cultures I have going. And if we're talking about nutrition, right? And how good a food is for your fish, well, you can either spend $55 on the Northfin or $35 on the Xtreme, like the prepared foods, or you can spend, uh, like $10 and start a food culture that will more than likely be more beneficial, and it's just basically self-sustaining.
Yeah,
So
I'm not going to culture live foods. I'm just not going to do it. I'll feed baby brown shrimp on occasion, but I am not growing I'm not doing it. I'm not growing
I mean,
worms. It's not happening.
there's
I
some
have
that are
to
easier than others. Like a vinegar eel culture, you don't really have to do anything other than just deal with it being in your house.
Some fucking cat would knock it over.
That would be the
You and I
worst. That
know
would
it's
be.
true.
I have an old cat, so I'm not worried about that. But I have two vinegar eel cultures. One of them with the half water, half vinegar. Another one full vinegar, sitting on top of the fridge. And I do so little with them. I forget they exist because anything that's like not in view becomes no longer part of this world anymore. But
Yeah.
the grindle worms as well. I have to feed those a few times a week to keep the population going. But they're pretty easy. They don't have a bad smell to them.
I guess I am culturing springtails for my terrariums, but for some reason the rainbows, like, I think they're too small. They don't see them. They don't eat them. Which is really weird. You'd think they would eat them. Just say no to damn cats, boy.
Yeah,
That's the fucking truth.
If it were only that easy.
Silly fucking cats.
So I guess at the end of it, especially after looking at a variety of food, like prepared foods, it's like personally, I feed a bunch of live and a bunch of frozen. So the prepared foods that I use are more of just like a quick, hey, I only have like 5 minutes, feed them kind of thing. So for me, it's not worth it, particularly considering the number of tanks that I have, to feed a super expensive prepared food that's supposedly better, even though 90% of the ingredients are largely the same as the cheap foods.
I mean, in the absence of additional information about what's in that food,
So
that's all we have to go on.
So
I mean, I only have 3 tanks, so it really doesn't matter. I mean, I can't buy food by the pound. I don't have freezer space. I can't use it up fast enough. I don't have the freezer space. So it really doesn't matter what I get. If I'm spending a couple extra bucks on the off chance it might be better, it just really doesn't matter because I don't have much. So do fish eat springtails? I mean, you'd think they would, Scotty, but I don't know why my rainbows don't. I mean,
because they're so freaking tiny. They don't care. Like
they just don't even notice it. I mean, but baby brine are tiny too, but they sink into the water column so they can see them.
And they swim frantically.
They do,
so
and it's
that
fun.
Attracts all kinds of fish.
It's like popcorn, they just like go around after it. But you know what, Scotty, you could try it because you're out nothing to try it.
Yeah.
Kenny's here. I also saw George stop in. Melvin, David's Aquatics. Scotty asked, how do the foods that I reviewed or talked about compare to Paul's? And let's look at, so Paul Pierce is the live food guy that I always...
And he makes the fry crack.
So he makes this fry crack. And like, I love feeding the fry crack. He's got a few different options. He's got super fry.
I love the name.
and it's green, so I imagine it probably has a lot of spirulina in it.
Night vibes.
But it claims a
Night vibes.
proprietary recipe. See ya, vibes. Proprietary recipe, so we don't know what's in it.
Yeah.
56%, including a very high percentage of easily digestible marine proteins. So it's higher in protein, which I think you'll generally see in like your specific foods for fry, because you want those fish to put on size, right?
What is the difference between feeding fry food and just grinding up your flake food really tiny?
So
I'm
like
pretty
the
sure
fried
that's
foods,
exactly what Foxy and Peplin do, is grind up a lot of flake food.
Yeah.
And I don't think they have ever had an issue with that.
That's kind of what I've always thought.
I feel like-
I am. Nobody should come to me for advice on breeding fish. I don't breed fish.
Me either.
Not a thing I do.
Can tell you what I did that accidentally worked, and
I have friends who breed fish, but I mean, I can tell you how to breed fish in a tub. I'm good at that, but do nothing. That is my advice to people to breed fish in a tub.
make sure the water is still in there.
Yeah, there you go. Live in a climate with lots of bugs.
Like the fry crack, again, it's some proprietary formula that he came up with, and generally like 55% protein, 16.4% fat. So said it's higher protein food, higher fat food, designed to put size onto your fry and get them to grow. Is that bad for your fish for them to eat higher protein, higher fat? I don't know. Nobody knows.
Yeah. And there you go. Foxan says, never had an issue with feeding ground food to any of our fry. Yeah. I mean, and she, unlike me, breeds tons of fish.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Coro asked about the co-op food.
I think the benefit of the co-op food is it comes in a nice bottle. However, you can put it in that bottle yourself.
Yeah. So it says
it's a very convenient to use bottle, though. But you could just buy that bottle.
I use that. I mean, I just get the food that's already in it, and that's how I feed the mosh pit.
Barbara Jackson recommends that people use pepper grinders to grind up larger pellets. So you can do that.
Makes sense. Yeah. So the co-op stuff, we see pretty much the same protein and fat content. So 55%, 18% is the Paul's fry food, and it's salmon meal, yeast, marine protein, again, kind of the similar stuff. So mostly the same, ingredients going into basically all these foods in slightly different variations that we'll never have access to the information to know exactly what makes each one different.
So Foxanne says that she uses tiny condiment bottles from Dollar Tree for the powder food. There you go. I mean, it is a very handy bottle, so you can get those from the dollar store.
Yeah, so I feed golden pearls to a lot of my fry because rainbows are tiny, so they like super tiny food, and they take forever to grow.
The golden pearls are very popular among rainbow breeders for their first foods, but then you have to get them onto baby brine. So
if somebody's not familiar with the golden pearls, there's a few different people out there that sell them, but this just happens to be Ken's because that's what we're looking at. So
5 to 50.
5 to 50 is what I use, because if your fish is eating something that's bigger than 50 microns, they can be on a different food.
How long would a half a pound? I mean, a fish farm, not super long, but a 2-ounce jar would be overbuying for me.
Yeah,
I have a quarter. I think it's a quarter-pound bag. Maybe it's a half-pound bag. It's like $12. It's not that bad, and I've had it for 4 years, and I'm less than halfway through it.
Do you freeze it, or I mean?
I just leave it dry in the cabinet where I feed it out of all the time.
Yeah.
It's just in the Ziploc bag, and
a lot of those oils can go rancid. I mean, that's what oils do. All oils oxidize. So.
Yeah, I wish there was more information on how that, like, which foods have longer shelf lives.
I mean, but you can tell when oils have gone rancid. They smell like melted. They smell like melted crayons.
Mm-hmm.
And golden pearls just smell to begin with too. So
the less saturated a fatty acid is, the quicker it goes rancid. So, for instance, like canola oil or peanut oil, those go rancid really quickly, but lard or Crisco, they have a longer shelf life. And I used to make soap, so I can tell you, like, those fatty acids, like 3 months for vegetable oils, 1 year for fully saturated oils is when they go rancid, and you can really tell a difference. So I would say that for fish food, you should probably use it up within 6 months if you're keeping it at room temperature.
That's never been a problem for me.
Yeah, or you could freeze it, in which case it lasts a really, really long time. But there is no fatty acid profile that lasts more than a year. There's none. I can't think of a single oil, animal or vegetable.
Yeah,
you could keep it in I would keep it in the freezer if you buy it in large quantities, and then just take out like a jar's worth, like, about that much, or whatever is reasonable to your life. You have more takes than I do, but yeah, I would keep it in the freezer. That's what I would do. And I don't have any freezer space, so that's another reason why I'm not going to buy it by the pound. They have a long shelf life in your arteries. There you go. And actually, eating rancid fats is really bad for you because they make reactive oxygen species, which are very bad for your vasculature. They're very bad for you. So you shouldn't eat rancid fats. Your fish probably shouldn't either. I mean,
So, Coro, I think Coro had asked about like the golden pearls compared to like some of the other foods. The golden pearls said they kind of float around a little bit to simulate, an actual moving food. It stays suspended in the water column longer. It talks about tiny air pockets. However, they make that happen, I don't know. I'm not a process engineer. But brine shrimp, so cool. So the food that everybody suggests you feed your fry, they take brine shrimp and grind it up to make it really small, so that maybe your baby rainbow fish that just hatched can actually eat it. Squid. So that's like I think the first food we've seen that says it has squid in it. Shrimp, some antioxidants and other stuff. But again, like the analysis as far as like nutrient content, 55-ish% protein, about 10% fat. So like these fry foods are just a little bit higher protein content, a little bit higher fat content.
Yeah, I've seen Rebecca say on multiple occasions too that like protein is way overemphasized in fish food.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like maybe it's just more for marketing because there's this idea that everyone needs maximum protein.
well, and that is because it's a marketing thing, because a lot of fish keepers are men, and men are obsessed with their protein intakes. I mean, Jake is like, I need to get X number of grams of protein every day, and I need to drink a protein shake now then, and it's
Yeah.
marketing.
And there's an article, like we saw lower protein content in some of your more like standard foods, not specific to your fry that you're trying to grow as fast as possible. It reminded me of Pam Chin wrote an article a long time ago, and I'd have to find it, about high protein content with regards to African cichlids, because she's huge on Africans, obviously.
Yeah.
And like if you fed those adults like super high protein content, they actually showed liver failure, because their body is like, if you take in too much protein, your body cannot properly process it.
Well, I mean, think of your own diet. Like, you should not go on a carnivorous diet either. Like, you need variety. Your fish are omnivores. They are not obligate carnivores. I mean, maybe there are some who are, but I think most fish are omnivorous. Except for the ones that only eat wood.
I would be the angriest person you've ever met if I had to go on a carnivore diet.
Yeah, I mean, well, you wouldn't feel good either. I mean, you probably wouldn't be able to poop anymore. So you need to eat vegetables.
So lots of factors making me cranky. Lack of sugar, lack of pooping.
I mean, you'd be angry all around.
Mm-hmm.
So Zenny says she buys buckets of kelp flakes and cans of Sarah spirulina tabs and adds those with anything high protein like bug bites and crow flakes. I think that's a good idea, and I like to mix spirulina flakes into.
So you can actually buy just like straight spirulina powder too, and like
You can. It's a great thing to add to your smoothies. It's good for people too.
So I know a lot of people.
It makes them a really pretty color.
They'll take Repashy and add more spirulina into it because so far, I haven't read like in-depth studies on it, but I mean it's shown a lot of positives, and I don't know if anybody's been like, here's a really bad negative thing that will make you sick if you eat too much algae.
It's cheap. You can buy it from health food stores. So usually you can buy it locally. I buy it locally.
Yeah. I bought this can of spirulina powder like, I don't know, 4 years ago because I had this delusion that I was going to feed my baby brine shrimp and raise them up for absolutely no reason at all.
Just for fun.
And I have a 99.9% full can of spirulina powder still.
Why haven't you been putting like a shot of it in your morning oatmeal?
That's disgusting. That is absolutely vile. That stuff smells so bad.
Jake would totally do it. There is no medicinal powder he will not try.
And I don't think I bought human consumption spirulina powder.
Okay, don't do that.
Kenny said he goes through 6 or 7 large cans of the tropical granules that we talked about before.
All right, you do the tropical granules. All right.
2 to 3 large frozen brine. And 4 large bloodworms, and then 6 to 7 cans of green bean a month.
That's a lot. See, I go through very little fish food.
I don't think they have
about 4 ounces a month of flake, and maybe like one pack of bloodworms, like the little bubble packs.
Yeah.
So not much. Not much.
Like, but as far as a prepared food, like he just picks what's cheap and works for him, or what's reasonable for his budget, and feeds that, and then he feeds a huge variety, like largely emphasizing frozen or fresh in the case of the green beans, which is, I'll call it fresh because it's not prepared, it's just food that you throw in there. And if you look at a lot of the breeders, like they may recommend like a prepared food, but they're feeding a huge variety for the most part. So
yeah.
Coro asked what fry food fries best.
I mean, I assume they all fry to some amount. So Nancy B says she bought spirulina powder for daphnia. I mean, if you bought the human grade, you can put it in your smoothies.
Man, if you want a way to dye your clothes teal,
mix
some of that with a little bit of water, make a little spirulina paste.
I have seen smoothie recipes for it, and they're so pretty. They're so pretty. The green juice ones, it just makes this beautiful color.
So, yes, like basically like the whole point of the last hour, and kind of what we looked at a little bit was like your dry prepared foods, like your flakes and your pellets. Most are the same. So is one better than the other?
I would say the point is we don't know.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of trust that goes into buying fish food.
We don't know. I mean, you can't say they're the same because we don't have the information to say they're the same. The conclusion is we don't know.
So
maybe they're different. We don't know.
But buy whatever your favorite flavor is. I'm not going to be
sample
one of these
them all
here making YouTube videos that says this is the best flake food on the face of the planet, because nobody knows that answer.
If someone gives you some free fish food, like you should use that up. Like unless it's too big for your fish to eat or something, but like use up free food. Like,
I mean, admit it, Mike. Everybody has a price. You can be bought, right? Just
Mike, you can be bought. I can be bought. I mean,
the price is high, but
it's a much higher price.
A fish food company may not be able to afford it.
Our streams, like.
I mean, if Repashy or Aquaristic wants to sponsor me and send me free fish food, then I'll be like,
there you go.
Well, maybe this is, but those are like, that gets into a very like unique niche, right? Like where it's a sort of a prepared food, but it's not like your everyday prepared food that 95% of hobbyists are going to feed.
Yeah. I mean, you can feed Repashy powder without mixing it and making the gel.
But my wife loves it when I make the gel.
Oh, have you ever made grub pie?
They all smell absolutely disgusting.
Grub pie wins though. Like it's the most vile.
So gross.
Yeah.
I'm not making Repashy. I'm not doing it. You probably could just make homemade Repashy. You could just take fish flake and powdered gelatin, because you can get unflavored gelatin, and make your own. But god damn it, why would you? Ugh.
Right.
So Barbara says for her community tanks, she mixes some flake, small granules, fry powder, and she feeds it. There's various kinds of feeding for different fish. Yeah, there you go. It's good to mix.
Yeah,
I mean, if you have lots of different fish, yeah.
Mix a little bit of whatever, and like, so Ken's offers a different flavor for literally every type of bug or anything you think of. Maybe just get a couple of them and mix them together and be like, I literally am feeding a little bit of everything that everyone says my fish should have, and boom, here. And Ken's is cheap enough that it's, affordable.
I mean, and if you have a lot of tanks, you can do that. But when you have only 3 tanks, if you buy a quarter pound of this and a quarter pound of this and a quarter pound of this and a quarter, all of a sudden, like, oh my god, I have 3 pounds of fish food. And,
right, and you can't go through all of it quickly.
And my freezer is full. Though Matt says I should buy another freezer.
Yeah, I saw that. It's good advice.
I have thought about, because then I could make like more frozen foods for myself.
So, what do you guys think about freeze-dried foods? Like, you can get like freeze-dried tubifex worms and stuff. Like, do you feed any of it?
I mean, I know
the rainbows.
Gary Lang is a big proponent of freeze-dried foods. I am grossed out by tubifex worms.
I mean, the rainbows love it. I've been feeding it to Corey's. Also, I have the freeze-dried black worms from Super Cichlids, and the fish equally go nuts over that. What I don't like about freeze-dried foods is the gross film they leave at the top of the water.
Oh, yeah.
When you feed a lot of them.
Feed them the day before water change day.
Yeah.
That would be good.
You can like, if you can get your spray bar, like I don't have my spray bars above the water line because CO2, but if you can get like an air stone going pretty heavily at night, it'll break up some of it, but it does still leave a bit of a film.
I used to run an air stone at night on this tank, like opposite of the light cycle, but then that air pump broke and I just never replaced it. I just never did.
That's what air pumps like to do. The diaphragm air pumps like to break.
And it was so loud and so annoying, and I just never bothered. So.
Night Owl said they mix freeze dried into Repashy.
All
so
right.
I really like Repashy. Like, it seems like expensive initially, but it goes a long way. And obviously they have different flavors, and I don't know. I might have it open. Nope.
So Northern Tide says freeze-dried tubifex are a huge hit for breeding cories, but the co-op's freeze-dried brine was a miss. That's true.
I don't like freeze-dried brine. It's like one of the biggest offenders for the nasty protein film at the top.
Oh, yeah, it's like super small, like just frozen. Unless you don't have a freezer, I guess. But
I've only tried the freeze-dried krill, and it's just too big for my fish. It's way too big. They choke on it. I mean, they certainly liked it. Rainbows like everything. But I was worried they were going to injure themselves.
You were talking about the agapa, or the grub pie earlier, Stephen. Out of sheer curiosity.
Some nasty crap.
But we see a lot less fillers. So
black soldier fly.
Some seaweed.
There you go. Dried seaweed. Lecithin. Okay, that's a filler.
I don't know what the magic, like, make it smell vile ingredient is, but maybe it's a combination.
Probably the black soldier fly larvae, I'm guessing.
Maybe.
Gross.
But the rest of them the ones that I've messed with are either the very heavily spirulina based ones like Soylent and Super Green, which they have their unique super green smell. And then the grub pie is just totally different.
Yeah. It's like the Soylent Green is spirulina, chlorella, krill, some black soldier fly larvae. So I can see how that could smell fairly not good.
The one that Lillian mixes up for her gecko smells lovely.
Oh, really? So that's what her gecko eats?
Mm-hmm.
That's not too bad.
It's like the base diet. Yeah, some of them need live food, but...
she also feeds live food. Because that's the big reason I will not get tree frogs. I am just not dealing with wingless Drosophila. I worked in fly labs for too many years, and I don't want to deal with it.
We don't culture live food for it.
You just buy it.
Well, we put springtails in there. It'll hunt those down. We definitely put what are they called? Roly polies.
The pill bugs.
Yeah. Isopods. Yeah. Haven't seen those in a while, so
I have isopods, the dairy cow ones. I put in one of my my biorbs. I've never seen them. I put them in. I never saw them again. Maybe they lived. I don't know. I never saw them.
Yeah, I think it's the crested gecko one right there is the one.
Really?
Jenna would know.
See how different it is from fish food. It's got banana, date. It's a lot of like fruits.
Yeah, it smells fruity.
That one is a lot less disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the crested gecko food.
How does the reptile grub pie compare to fish grub pie? Oh, look, it's exactly the same with a different picture.
Yeah, well, I mean, you want to make it easy for people to know what to buy.
Cat House said they like dried bloodworms because they crush them up into a powder for fry. That makes sense.
That's nice. So Zen says that the Hikari freeze-dried daphnia is like powder. So my worst issue is it flies through the air and gets on things. But if you're careful, it's great for the teeny fishies. Well, that's good to know. I mean, daphnia are really high quality food. I know Gary Lang is a big fan of the freeze-dried foods.
Matt's doing some FishFam.Link work.
He's
fixing the things. So Matt's he's kind of the behind the scenes guy for FishFam.Link. So he's been working on all the code and nerdy stuff, and it looks like it's getting repaired. So if you appreciate FishFam.Link and you appreciate Matt's help, you can support him by going and becoming a Patreon over at the FishFam.Link Patreon.
And another way you can support it is if you go to the Clash, Stephen and I will be selling plants.
Mm-hmm. And Branton Lightcap is sending some plants, and
cool.
And Dee Dee is making some stuff to sell. Cool. Jenna's making some stuff to sell. There's a good bit of knickknacks. I think Annette's making some stuff as well.
Awesome. So you guys have rolling out of food and into upcoming stuff like the Clash. You guys have a couple tables you're setting up at the Clash for FishFam.Link.
I think it's a three booth setup there, like so 3 tables and a billion chairs, and
it'll be the first booth you get to when you go in the door. So you won't get it. It'll be
Eric is bringing plecos. Yeah, that's right.
Nice.
Are you guys doing what, the fish drawings again?
I'll bring the drawing pad for people who want to draw fish.
Cool.
I don't think we're going to have time to hunt people down and get them to draw it. So it'll be definitely on a volunteer, like I want to draw a fish and I will make it easy for you to find me to draw a fish type of thing. And I've got like some various prints of previous fish drawings that'll mostly just be there for people who care about them, like giveaways type stuff.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
Nice.
So you guys
for
said you
members of the channel and patrons of FishFam.Link.
Cool. So you guys are getting packed up in a few days here to roll that direction.
What day are you guys leaving, Stephen?
Our flight is on a Wednesday morning, whatever that is, the 1st, 2nd, something like that. The 2nd.
And you guys are flying with all the stuff you need to set up?
2 check bags, 2 carry-ons, and a personal item each. So, yeah.
Oh, man. But you'll be able to pack a lot in. I mean, I think we're going to leave Wednesday night, but we're not going to drive the whole way because, Jake will come here after work. So he'll get here at probably the earliest will be 6. And maybe we'll drive as far as Cleveland and spend the night. And so we don't have to do it all in one day. And then we don't get there so late on Thursday. So maybe I'll be there in time to have dinner with people and spend a little more time with people. So that'll be nice.
Cool. Awesome. That's one thing. So I'll be in home ideally just in time to make Quad Cities swap meet on the
Nice.
29th. And there'll actually be a few of the, folks that you guys recognize there. I think Brian and Foxy from Peplin will be there.
Yeah. So, and if you're a member of their channel, they sent out a post of, talking about that they'll be there. So make sure you read that.
Yeah. So I got his. I'm getting some fish from them, and he
Nice.
sent me the list of some of the stuff they have available, and they'll have some cool stuff. And I'm like, all right, don't spend all my money with them because I want to like get there and
Spread it around.
walk around and see people. I think I'm going to see Whip there, which I've never met Whip in. Well, I've never met 99% of you guys in person, so it'll be nice to get there and see some of these faces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I almost met you last year. You were in Fort Wayne for one night.
It was one night. The weather was crap. It was snowy. Oof.
And I didn't feel very good that night, so it just didn't happen. Yeah, but if you come through Fort Wayne again.
Yeah. So Fort Wayne has you guys just got your F-16s back. Sorry, airplane talk, but
we have a nice airport.
It's not too bad.
It's really easy to fly out of. I wish they had more flights because it's small. I mean, I almost never can fly out of there, but
yeah.
So Warren says, I don't know if it's just me, but I have fed several different foods to my fish room, and honestly, none of them have made a noticeable change in my fish. There you go. So Ken's it is.
I mean, that's been my experience as well. There is no single food where I fed to the fish, other than the picky ones, where I'm like, this is the stuff.
I mean, other than like baby brine, because they just think it's so fun.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe bloodworms. Like they just really go crazy for bloodworms. But I don't know that bloodworms are necessarily better for them. They just really like them.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of prepared foods, flakes, pellets, and wafers, sticks, and all that stuff.
So, yeah, I don't know. I'm in the same boat. I've tried a bunch of stuff over the last 15, 20 years. Obviously, I know a lot of people that have bred a lot of different fish. And at the end of the day, it seems like most of them are like, well, whatever's just kind of cheap because I feed a variety. So it doesn't really make a difference. And I haven't noticed a difference. So I'm not saying you have to use Ken's food. I'm not suggesting you use Ken's food. I'm just saying we looked at some options and we looked at some price ranges. And if you want to spend the money on a food that, on paper looks nicer, so go for it. I'm going to extend not to. It's like the videos out there that you've seen over like the past few years, and I'm not picking on like Xtreme Northfin. I'm just like, somebody's like, oh, this is the best fish food ever. Like my fish go crazy for it. I was like, if your fish are conditioned to flakes and you put flakes in the tank and they know that flakes are food, like odds are, as long as it's not complete garbage, they're going to go crazy for whatever.
I mean, like I said, you put dryer lint in the tank and rainbows will be like, oh my God, dryer lint.
Right.
They don't care.
The best thing ever.
Oh,
chia seeds.
Yeah. That's why I should sprinkle some chia seeds in there and see if they go for them.
We could test this right now.
I could. Well, one moment.
All right, here we go.
Forcing Kelley to do things she didn't plan on doing.
There might be a lot of chia seed based poop in the tank by the morning.
Yeah. We're not going to put many of them in. Here we go. Chia seeds. It's there. Show you up close.
Yeah,
pretty
tiny.
Small.
They're plenty small.
They swell with water and get pretty big. So that's why I'm not going to put many of them in. Because rainbows, not that smart. All right. Here you go, guys. Have at it.
The ones in the 40 are like, oh, it's food lady. What she got for us?
The others are jealous.
Why are they eating them?
I can't believe it. They're seeing objects in the tank and they're going after them.
Not too excitedly, but they are going for them.
Barbara asked if they'll come out the same way they went in.
What?
Did Barbara
they come out looking the same? Yeah.
No, they break down, I guess. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I eat a lot of them.
Barbara also said that auctions and events are a good way to get a good deal on food. It's a good way to try food. Usually a lot of people send samples for the events to hand out so you can try out.
So they are spitting them out. So I would say that rainbows, we have found a food they are not excited about. They are not excited about chia seeds.
What if you put them through a pepper grinder and then mix them in with like Repashy or something?
I mean, they'd probably eat it. Like I wouldn't put I could put them in my Vitamix blender and blend them up, but I'm not going to do that. It's not going to happen. Or you can buy pre-ground chia seeds, but
yeah,
you know.
Steve said he likes Northfin. He said they make decent food. They're extremely generous to clubs and that kind of stuff. Makes a big difference. Like, yeah, like everybody's got their reasons. And like, I mean, if they support your club or they support a lot of clubs and you want to support them, it's like, great. Like I said, no problem with that. So
I felt bad for the rainbows.
There they go.
There you go.
They look a little bit more excited for that.
That's good. Okay. Yeah, I felt bad for them. We'll give, and now the fish in the 40 are like, what the hell? Come on.
Zen asked if you sprouted them like barely and then fed them. If it makes
what if they sprouted in the tank?
Oh God.
You might have just developed a new foreground.
Maybe that's what the seeds of despair are, Mike. Maybe that's what they were.
Is that the trick? So Steve mentioned Cunningham Tropicals has new foods. I've never tried any of Cunningham stuff. So
me either.
Earthworm pellets, boy, I bet those smell.
Ken's got earthworm flakes and blackworm flakes and blackworm sticks, which I like to feed the cories.
They used to have, they called it a multi-worm flake that had like blackworm and earthworm and stuff in it. So it was like,
they still do.
I don't want to buy one specific to a single worm if I can buy the one that has all the worms. So
all the worms.
I bought the blackworm one because I always hear live blackworms are like the golden food for spawning cories. But you know, finding live blackworms is one thing. Culturing them, taking care of them, not something I'm prepared to do.
Your wife is not prepared for that in her house. She's got her limits, and yeah, it's not happening.
If you can find live blackworms, like kudos, number one. Two, they're expensive as crap. They're like $70 or $80 a pound, I think. Which, like, obviously most people aren't going to go buy a pound of live blackworms, but not cheap. Did you notice a difference feeding? Skipper said he's got the blackworm sticks. Did you notice like any difference in like spawning or growth or anything when you started feeding them to the cories?
I like that they are more immediately accessible. It does kind of like haze up the water for a little bit after the feeding, but the filter gets, you know, all the fine crap, but it definitely breaks down a lot faster in the water, but the cories go nuts for it. They eat it up pretty quickly. Versus like if I also feed Massive or Delight, it's like the little compact pellet that takes forever to break down. I like the blackworm sticks. I can't attribute it to these caused X cory to spawn because the cories that spawn in my fish room I think is more attributable to like quantity of food, like just feeding them a lot that they eat,
or like cool water changes or.
Yeah. Well, even the orange Venezuelans don't care about the cool water changes. Like they are spawning when it's still 85-degree tap water going in their tank.
That's why I don't know why anyone would get Corydoras equus. They do not look significantly different than the orange Venezuelans at all. They do not look exciting. Like you think they're going to look. No, they don't look different. And they never spawn for anyone.
No, they are.
When I bought them, they weren't quite as expensive as they are now, but now they're like $30 a fish because they're impossible to spawn.
Yeah.
Cheap cories are better than expensive cories.
The only anecdote I know about spawning the equus is Rob McClure doing his talk and talking about how they just like basically no movement, no water movement, stagnant, nasty leaf.
That wasn't
evaporated.
Rob McClure. That was what's his name?
Bodrock?
Yeah, Eric Bodrock.
Okay. I think Rob McClure mentioned in his talk, maybe he heard it from Eric Bodrock. There's probably a lot of anecdote exchanges. I don't know.
It was one of his Be the Fish talks. Yeah. Which I have never met Eric Bodrock. I don't know why
did.
he didn't come to the Clash. Like, it's not that far. Like, it's not that far.
I met him at Triple Crown.
Yeah, I don't know why he doesn't come to the Clash. Like,
he should.
It's in Pennsylvania. I mean, he's on the other side of the state, but still, it's not that far.
Night, Kenny.
Night, Kenny.
See you, Kenny. Thanks for stopping by.
It's almost midnight here on the East Coast, so I've got to bounce pretty soon.
Sounds good. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. This is not going to be a 3 a.m. stream. I'll give you another 12 minutes.
Yeah, same.
12 minutes. Yeah, no problem. So Steve mentioned to check out Cunningham. They've got all kinds of different pellets and flakes.
That looks like the cat litter I use, which I would not recommend feeding because it is made of wood. However, plecos love wood, so you could feed it to your plecos.
It might float though.
It would probably float.
Plecos like that dense sinking wood.
Yeah, they like 2x4s.
Yep.
So Jenna says that Eric Bodrock sponsored a fish show class. That's nice. Mate, let's hope he comes. Cool. Skipper says he was there in 2021. I would like to meet him. I've bought rainbows from him. I bought my Picta from him, which I don't have anymore, unfortunately. But
cool. Awesome. Well, we're winding down. Is anybody, obviously, like, people have trickled out as it's gotten late on a Sunday night. If there's any questions or if you just want like our take, feel free to throw them in the chat. If you feel like we missed anything. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight, guys.
So, and in case you didn't hear it earlier, no Wet Your Plants Monday.
Yeah, we'll be in
Jenna
prep mode. Likewise, more than likely, no Xtreme Friday night.
Yeah.
But I think probably the Monday before the Clash, we could do Wet Your Plants, and we'll definitely do Xtreme from the Clash.
Yeah, because then we can talk about what we're bringing for plants.
Yep.
And we can, I have to figure out what to price these, like, or like if I should break them up into stuff, because like I could sell like huge clumps of certain things, like a Nubius or Monte Carlo.
I'm thinking for the table, we just have very basic portions with simple pricing. Like maybe we have like two or three different tiers of pricing for plants.
And then if we want to, some people would want to buy some big old chunks.
Yeah, well, and like for the auction, I bet if you had a bunch of Anubias, combining all that Anubias into one lot would probably
bring a lot of money.
Yeah, people would.
Or big clumps of Java ferns.
Or bulbitis.
I don't have any of that. I got rid of that. It's unfortunate.
She threw all that away.
I did. I threw it in a trash bag. It wouldn't fit in any other bag. And I sent the last of it to Johnny. And he put it all in one corner of like a 75. And I'm like, you could spread that out to multiple tanks. He's like, no, there it stays. So funny. Like, I'm not moving it.
I don't know who would be promising to stream every week.
It's psychotic.
We streamed twice last week.
I mean, how about every week on average, year over year? Like
we
streamed 3 times this week, if you count tonight. How much we're gonna get overexposed?
Yeah.
So Stephen can't do Wet Your Plants Monday, but Kelley could maybe just take it over and run the show.
With Mike as a host or a guest or something?
I don't have access to Steven's
I can only have one person, like one team member person on my StreamYard, and that's Jenna. So
yeah, so that's that. Steven has access to my StreamYard though. Because Jake doesn't want it.
You could do a Science is Fundamental.
I'm not going to. It takes a lot of work to do those. Like it's like writing a lecture.
You guys,
it takes me about 3 hours to write one of those, and I just don't want to do it tomorrow. So
you guys could pre-record Xtreme for Friday and then play it and see how long it takes people for like people to notice. Like,
oh my god, like they're ignoring us.
They're ignoring the chat, these assholes.
I can read like last week's participants list.
Or you could just read last week's chat too and see if like people notice.
I might strongly consider holding Matt to this if he'd go visit you.
Yeah.
when you get back to town. Now, what's the timeline on that? It's like in the years following his return to town.
How long are you going to be home this time? Like, are they going to ship you out again soon? Or are you going to be home like at least till Christmas?
So right now, I don't have anything planned for the next year. Like it should just be like short trips, like 2, 3, 4 days at a time. But
okay, so like you'll be home for like Christmas. Let's hope. Like
should be, yeah.
That's good because you know your family misses you.
Nancy's gonna send what the fish guesses into the void.
If it's pre-recorded, just yeah, take your word for it.
That's right. I mean,
you could take a recording from an old McStreamy and just replay that one on Friday.
How about my very first stream?
Hits. McStreamy greatest hits. Just do a rerun episode.
Greatest hits. Oh well, yeah, a compilation that would take forever, but
no, just once. Just pick a good one, a representative good one.
Or everyone can just go through the playlist and just choose what you think might be your favorite episode.
Who's your favorite?
Just pretend.
You can watch the Newlywed game where Jake and I were on.
You could draw your own fish.
There you go.
And then guess correctly.
I drew a discus. Oh, I'm wrong. Oh.
I think it would be extremely entertaining. There's only 20 people here now. So most people would not be in on it. But if you just replayed an old one or just like legitimately like did a recorded, like pre-recorded one and just let it roll.
Let it roll.
Oh my god.
I think it would be hilarious.
The whole point of streaming, in my opinion, is to have the ability to interact with chat.
Yeah, so. Otherwise you could just do a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, or a video. So
I cannot stand like as soon as I figure out that it's been pre-recorded, I immediately click out and go find something else because
yeah, I mean if it's a good discussion, then it just gives me the ability to like pause it, come back to it. But I definitely don't have like the urgent desire to stay.
I just think of it as like a podcast then, and it's fine. I don't mind that. I don't listen to any fish content that way, but for other things.
Yeah, I forgot about that one fact that I gave away a lot of stuff because it was like, I think it was like my 500 subscriber giveaway the first time I went live, and there was a good half dozen giveaways, I think.
So this sounds like a great plan for the rest of us.
Offering fish I don't even have anymore.
Oh well. There would probably be people in that chat that we haven't seen in a long time.
God,
no
yeah.
Kidding. Yeah, that'd be we just talked about that the other day, like the different faces that you don't see anymore. But
yeah, well, watching your fertilizer talk, what you did with Priscilla, and you were calling out names in the chat. Hadn't heard from him in quite a while.
Yeah.
Here he is.
There's Fat Kitty.
Fat Kitty's ready for bed, just like the rest of us.
Yep.
So. All right.
Yeah.
So everybody that hung around till the end, appreciate it. If you're catching the replay, thank you very much. Hopefully you found it beneficial some way, shape, or form. But until next time, we'll see you later.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.